Hello and welcome to Arlington, Washington in beautiful northern Washington state. It is an airport, the first airport I think, built by Airfoil Labs, who are renowned for making a very good-looking aircraft that are terrible on frame rates, and they seem to have produced a utterly beautiful piece of scenery here, as you can see, that is also pretty awful on frame rates. Let's just see. We're at 56 frames at 3880 by 1440 or whatever that precise resolution is, and our settings are medium for objects, because if we go any higher than medium, the thing runs out of VRAM. It pretty much chokes and reverts to a slideshow. But as you can see over here, it is just let's give it a little tower view here. It's just magnificent. If you look down, there's little ortho decal stuff here. There are 3D cars. There's some built-in shadows, which don't always look right because they look a little burned out. But all in all, it's a very impressive piece of work. And the other impressive thing is the airports that, let me just rise up out of here, a couple of grass strips that happen to be located right nearby that are amazing to fly into and look great. Anyway, you can see it's got built-in ortho, and I didn't mean to do that. It's got built-in ortho, and it has hand-placed auto-gen, and I've tweaked things a little bit so that you see cars on the ortho roads instead of on X-Planes roads, so it looks a little bit better, I think. In the meantime, this is basically the straights here, and Seattle, if I'm not mistaken, is back down that away. And if I'm not mistaken, this is Interstate 5, and that actually is Payne Field, which is Everett, Washington here. Unless that is it right there. No. But let's see if we can find it. There it is. And that is the Mowing plant. Well, not just the Mowing plant, that's the Mowing wide-body plant. As you can see, there are a whole string of 777s and 787s lined up there on the flight line ready to go. And here is the massive assembly line here, which is one of the biggest buildings on the planet. So, all right, at least we know where we are. But really, more significantly, what makes this interesting is those other airstrips, and let's see if we can find them, because they're a bit of a bear to find. They're very tiny, and one of them is right there, and there's another one not far away. Now, there's a bit of a cheat, which I confess I have used. By the way, this is a pretty hairy approach. This is an okay approach. It's a very short strip, but there should be another airfield right about, I want to say right about here. No, it's not right here. It's okay. There's the highway, and there are the hills, and I believe the other strip is right here. But here, let's use the cheat. Airfoil Labs includes little cheat here. Show airport arrows. Okay, there's one airport. We found that one. And here's the other one, which is even hairier and smaller. Aha. Aha. Okay, yeah, that's the bend in the river. So they're both located with respect to the river. And this one here is really only suitable to fly into this way, but we've done it this way, or we're gonna do it this way, because it's down quite a hill. So that's I-5, and this is Vancouver, Washington coming up there. But the other airport here is even shorter runway-wise, and is, well, it's quite the experience to fly into. Now, of course, we are in, oh, not only can you use those arrows here, let's show you. It's actually pretty cool, but we'll forego that, and we'll just grope around a little bit. But the other thing you can do here is you can set up traffic patterns here. I believe only for the main airport where we happen to be. So there is, you look at this, there is the crosswind leg, and there's the downwind leg, and there's the base leg. No, I'm sorry, it's the other way around. There's the crosswind. Here's the downwind. There's the base. And there's the final. So you can train by just flying through these boxes here, which is pretty slick. They don't seem to steal much in the way of frame rates, but let's get rid of them. We're gonna trust ourselves to get lost on our own here. Anyway, so Airfoil Labs, show airport arrows, get rid of them. Unfortunately, you can't check off more than one at the same time because it's programmed that way in the menu, which really is kind of lousy. Okay, so we've got one there and one there, more or less, and they're plugged into the river a little bit. And we'll get rid of this. Now, I've been just beating the crap out of myself trying to land the plane without the yips, without, well, looking at the yoke here. See how, well, it just woke up there, but that just may be a function of something else. But see how nice and smooth and linear it is here. And I think how linear it now is here, but I'm using the Brunner control loading yoke, which basically has a motor of some sort in it that fights against you, depending on how trimmed you are and how fast you're going and all that. You can program it a million different ways. Here, let me just show you. It's pretty crazy, but if you go into the profile manager here, you can program the range of motion and how that translates into this, which can get you into a lot of trouble. And you can also program the force. And right now I've got just a linear setup so that it increases linearly with respect to speed, but you can, for instance, make it very, very non-linear, and I've run into all sorts of funky problems with that. Mainly this is down to pilot technique, but it's also down to programming. So we'll just leave everything the way it was. And you know, just to let you know, I've had just trouble flaring without jerking the airplane around. But let's just get our heading bug squared up here. And let's get our course set up here. We're not really going to do a pattern on this runway. Get our flaps set. And there's a bunch of lags in here. You notice how that sort of just lags a little bit? That's a problem. All right, our trim is set. And once again, there we go. Get a little bit unlined up there. And the problem is because these two airports are fictitious airports, the other two, you can't program them on here. You could by sort of creating your own waypoint, I suppose, but we'll just let that slide for the moment. I'm just going to turn this up so I don't keep getting altitude alerts. And the other problem is that the mode annunciator panel here is a little bit wonky, and other people have noticed this. This is version 1.2 of the plane from Carenado. It's awfully good, but here, let's, if, well, for instance, you set, I'm not going to do anything. First of all, setting heading shouldn't start the autopilot, so we should just turn on the flight director, set heading, and that should not set the autopilot. It also doesn't set the heading. Going to arm the altitude there. And that lights up an altitude light, which is traditionally, and I don't, this is a King or Bendix King autopilot here, and I don't really know the ins and outs of this particular model, but traditionally when that's lit up, that means the altitude is captured, but that doesn't mean that here. It just means that it's armed, which should be enunciating here, but it doesn't. I'm just going to set a vertical speed mode, and setting a vertical speed mode here and designating it here seem to be different things. But that should show in the flight director as up, and it doesn't. However, if you use it here to set a vertical speed, then it does show up here. So I'm a little confused about all of it, but that's probably just me. So now if I choose vertical speed, it shows 0, and now this settles back down. And so now, if I increase it to 1,300 feet per minute, in other words, if I've toggled it here, and then I go back to it here, then it sets up fine. But if I just set it here and don't do anything with the down and up, doesn't do anything. So there's some odd little quirks to be worked out, but for the moment, and the altitude here should show up as armed here no matter what, but it doesn't. It shows up as altitude here. So there's some quirks or some misunderstandings, but I'm going to leave that aside here. Actually, let me find out what our real field elevation is, because I do not know. And let's go to KAWO, which actually does exist. And the airfield elevation is, let's see, we're on 3-4, 127.5 feet where we are. And so let's get that set up. This is also automatically or incidentally setting our altimeter, because obviously if the airfield elevation agrees at a particular altimeter setting, then that's the correct air pressure out there. I'm sure you wouldn't do that in real life, but it works fine in the sim. Get rid of this right here. We will just squawk VFR. And there we go. And we'll get ready to get out of Dodge here. Landing lights, nav lights, beacon is on, strobe is on. We can turn that off, turn that on. we can open our inertial separator in case there's low icing or foreign object stuff. And again, we've got one grass strip here, one over here, distributed around the river. And the moment our winds are calm, so we're not gonna have to worry so much about X-Plane's abysmal ground handling, which I've experienced in this plane and others. So there we go. I'm really not going to climb to 3,000 feet, but I just want to see if it enunciates armed once we get up in the air. Anyway, heading is synced up, and that should be out of the way a little bit better. There we go. Move this to flight idle. Make sure that we're not in beta, and we're not. Make sure our flaps are set, and they are. Make sure there's nothing on our caution panel, and there is nothing. And just quickly scan our engine instruments, and they're all fine. There's no prop speed control on this, just a condition lever. And I think, all that said, I think we're good to go. Look at the custom grass here. That's really nice. The other thing is, let me just make sure, lose these window reflections, which will help our frame rates immensely. And there we are. Let's go flying. Okay, takeoff power is set. We're going to rotate at about 90. Probably rotate about 80. There we go. And that's my yoke setting and my own ineptitude. We're a little bit hesitant there. I should have rotated a bit more smartly. I'm going to leave my flaps in here, actually. And let's just survey our first airport, our first fictitious airport. The other thing, let me just get rid of this. This should be saying heading. Doesn't show heading. See, it'll show these, watch this. Right here, let me just put this in. It'll show it once I put in the autopilot. See, now everything enunciates. Altitude armed, that's fine, autopilot. It says wings level and VOR. Okay, heading. It shouldn't say wings level anymore, so we're just going to get rid of all of this. Get rid of that, screw that. Okay. Anyway, one of our airports is, or should be, right down there. And our other airport should be off over there. Gotten a little exuberant here as we go rooting around. Let's stay slow. Let's stay in our white arc. And my neighbor's dog is going crazy there. Just excuse that. Also, turn down my monitor here. There we go. All right. And you can see I don't have, here, let me get rid of that. There we go. Alright, so let's come on back here and let's try to land at our second airport, and we're going to do it the hard way. Now there's not much wind to speak of, so that's good. But this is going to be a bit of a challenge. It should be right beyond that slope right there. We're not flying a standard pattern per se, not flying Dick per se, but if I remember right, that's where the airport is. If not, we'll find it, damn it. But here's the street here, and then the interstate is over here, and it should lie between the two, and there's a kind of sandbar-ish sort of thing right there, so I think we're in the right neighborhood. So bring down the gear. Trim back. Now this is, yeah, there's the strip. Okay, so this is going to be a real short field landing. It's going to be full flaps, and I'm hoping to be as close to stalling as we go over the fence as possible, but of course we're going to need to arrest our sink. Now, we're plunging down a hill here to land. Once we do touch down, we want to keep our nose pretty high to keep the weight off of the nose wheel, because of the bumpies. Alright, so here we go. Full flaps, which normally you don't need in this plane. And I'm going to try not to get my normal case of the yips. I want to come over at about 75 knots. So here we go. Now there are also trees here, which I think is the fault of my own scenery, but here we go. We're about 8% torque. I'm just going to roll off that a little bit, and I'm going to point downhill, and you can see I'm just going to skirt some obstacles here too. Just going to trim back a bit, and then we will round out there and stall it, and there we are. Hold the nose off, get into beta, and actually did that one okay. Now we're on the crap end of the runway here, so what we'll do is we will have an extremely compromised takeoff here, but why the hell not? Actually, before we do that, let's just see that again, because that's pretty damn nice. Let's get a brake in, and back that up. Reasonably happy with that, but doesn't mean I won't screw up the next one. No, I don't want that. There we go, but all right. The tower views are broken in this. If you set a tower view, it plunks you down in the middle of the runway, which is too bad. So we'll do it ourselves. We'll modify the old Hawaii 5.0 view. Look at the horses there. Look, horsies. All right. And also, scenery pops in and out of existence, and it eats up so much VRAM, I can't even begin to tell you. All right, so there we are. And there we are coming over the hill. And so let's give that a look-see. Nice and stable. Now I'm going to chop the power right as soon as I clear these trees, but I'm going to trickle a little back in just to arrest the sink a little bit. There we go. We're just falling out of the sky. And I'm going to round out here because we really got a sink going. There we are. And in the ground effect and down, and keep the nose up. And there we go. Into beta. Now, let's see what it looks like from the action end. It's a hell of a good looking plane. All right, so here we go. See that hill we're plunging down? So, down we go. It's a little like St. Bart's. You just sort of come hammering down a hill here and then save it at the last minute. There we go. And I still had a little bit of a yip. And keep that nose wheel up, which also provides more drag because you're presenting much more frontal area. And there we are. Alright, so that's number one. Now, let's see if we can land at an even shorter strip here, but before we do that, we want to depart from a pretty short strip, and we want to do it from the disadvantaged end, I suppose you'd say. Okay, we're out of beta there. And when this gets windy, it really handles poorly. But at least as it stands, now you can see this is just not the right way to depart. So what we're going to do is we're going to depart with the stick back quite a bit, so the nose is going to come up early, and we're just going to, we don't want to rotate, but we want to keep it light on the nose wheel, and then we want to rotate as quickly as we can. Actually, there we go. Let's just fix our weather a little bit. Then just stay ever so slightly nose up in the ground effect and build speed, and then you pop out of that aerodynamic bubble and then really start to climb. You can kind of get stuck in the ground effect too. That's something to watch out for, but with the kind of power that this big old Pratt & Whitney PT6 has, that shouldn't be a problem. All right. By the way, this is beta here. If you toggle it in X-Plane, there's a command for it for toggle reversers. It's basically like popping the gate, and now when you move your lever forward, it actually moves back into the propeller pitch range that's called beta. It's either very, very flat or reversed a little bit. Otherwise, you go like this. In the real plane, what you would do is under there's a little trigger to pull, and or a gate to lift, and that lets you lift it over into this. You don't want to be in this area when you're in the air, because bad things are going to happen. So we're going to start with the stick back about like that. We've got no wind to speak of, so we're good. We are going to hold on the power here as much as we can without the plane starting to slide. There we go. And we'll set takeoff power right about there. And we're just going to hold that nose up just a little bit. You see it getting light right there? There we are. And we'll just stay in the ground effect right there. And nose down, nose down, nose down, and then up. There we go. Now we've got enough real speed to climb. Just going to avoid these trees here. And let's go searching for the other airfield, which is also down the river a little bit, and I believe it's down the river this way. But first, since we're right on the hairy edge here, let's nose down a little bit. There we go. Flaps in, gear up, and let's go find the other field, which I think is right around this little strip here, this little bend in the river here. Yeah, because there's that little solar farm, and the other field is, oh my God, is that it? Is that the whole thing? That can't be it. Heavens to Murgatroyd. I believe... No. Yes. That's it. Alright, so there's this little crotch here in the river, so little confluence, little town. We use that to line up for our final. Just do a little, widen out a little downwind here. This must be the town of Arlington right here. Okay, keep the river there, in sight. Okay, that little series of bends is alright. Oh, there's the high school, look at that. It's good looking scenery, it's just murder on the frames. Okay, we'll get our second notch of flaps in. We're at about 1,000 feet AGL, just, well, a little bit less, 900 and some AGL. And we'll come back around here momentarily. Arlington Airport is off that way. Actually up on a little bit of a plateau. Keep the power in here. Trim back a bit. Notice how the frames are deteriorating. It's a little hard to fly. Alright, we're just keeping it level here. And let's see, is that the field right there in front of us? I believe it is. No, it's not. Oh, crap. I do not want to have to loop around here because I'm lost. Ah, there's the field. Okay. Is that it? Yes, that's it. All right. Full flaps again, and this is going to be an even hairier landing. The frames seem to be deteriorating a bit. I'm a little out of trim, certainly out of practice. I'm just going to drag it over this fence. Okay, there's the stall. And as you can see, we're just about out of runway. Alright, that's about as small a strip as you could really hope to get into with this plane. Let's just back up here. This is not really the right way to do it, but that's pretty ugly. Come on, little computer. There you go. All right, as you can see, we basically landed in somebody's backyard. But let's just get the brakes on and let's see how bad that looked. We smacked it in pretty hard, but you kind of have to smack it in pretty hard because otherwise you're out of runway. Look at that. Jesus. That really is like somebody's backyard. All right. Now, we set up a tower view. Unfortunately, it's right in the middle of the runway, but here, let's see what it looks like. Now you can see it's a much flatter approach. We're just dragging it in, trying to go as slow as humanly possible, and we're trying to touch down at the farthest, about here. Not sure if we made it. There we go, round out, and boom! Yes, we did. Oh, look out, Loretta. And that's really about that's about all you can do. All right, let's actually set this up properly here. Again, this is a fictitious airfield, and you probably wouldn't fly one of these into it, but you know, these are meant to fly into small strips. I don't have the performance table right with me, so I don't know whether we are realistic here. I don't have a full load of fuel and I don't have a full load of passengers, but I'm not empty either. Now what'll happen is I'll just fuck it up landing on plain old tarmac here, but we planted pretty firmly. Boom, yeah, because we stall right there. Boom, and down. And try to hold the nose wheel off. There we go. I suppose if you want maximum weight on the wheels, you could bring the flaps up early, but the flaps also contribute drag, so it's hard to say which is preferable. Let's just see that again from the cockpit. I love flying in this part of the country. It's really just immensely beautiful. All right, so here we are. And we're a little fast right here, but we're going to lose that speed toot sweet. So you can see our torque now is 667 psi. I don't know if it's normally notated in psi or percent or foot-pounds, but that's the way it is on this plane, on this model. And let's see, we're at 190, 85, let's see, that's 50, 60, 70, 80, about 83 knots. We could have been even slower. Let's just see what it looks like here. So we're about 2.5 degrees nose up, coming up to about 5, and slowing down and rolling off the power. We could have done that sooner and actually held a lower pitch attitude. And there's the stall. And we stalled ourselves on, which is good, but we got a little case of the yips there at the end, and down we go. A little bounce on the nose wheel, but not too damn bad. Not bad at all. All right, so let's just go back to Arlington now. And this is going to be hell on wheels to get out of, so there we go. And I'm just gonna lay on all the beans. Let that stick come back. Come on up. That's the stall warning, by the way. Okay, we'll just thread the needle here. Oh, that's beautiful. Okay. We got some speed. We don't need no stinking badges. Up comes the gear. Don't need no stinking gear. And let's go find Arlington Airport and make the world's finest greaser. God, this is fun. This is really just fun. Alright, there's an airport on that plateau, and that somewhere is our airport, so let's go find it. Come up to pattern altitude, give or take. There's another field right there at our 11 o'clock, but that is not it. Alright, let's just do this right. Trim down, power down. Still climbing. There we go. There's the airport right there. And we will enter on a 45 right downwind for runway 34. We're a little high, but we're turboprop, so actually 1,500 feet would be an acceptable pattern altitude, I believe. Okay, bring out the power, and drop the gear. Bring out a nacho flaps. Kind of a bit of a tight pattern here, and I can't see. There we go. It's the end of the runway. Alright, we'll fly out to about there and make our turn. We'll come down to a real pattern altitude. And we'll try not to get the yips on the landing. If we were flying into Michigan, we could, into Detroit, we could get the Ypsilanti, but that would be wrong. Alright. Turn base here. I'm making a double rate turn here because I'm a little tight. And probably going to have to turn straight onto final here. 30 degrees of flaps. Where's our runway? Where's our airport? Can't see it. Very good. Ah, there's our runway and there's our airport. Too tight. Alright, bad pilot, bad pilot. Let's get ourselves stable. Now we're going to land again at about 85. Actually, it should be about 75 coming over. That was a really half-assed pattern. Just trim back a bit. And we're low. Let's fix that. That'll lose our speed. God, I hate dragging it in like this. Alright. Well, then we'll do a short field landing on concrete, I suppose. Round out. Look down the runway. Nose up. Oh. Screw that. Alright, you know what? Let's do another. frickin' embarrassing. And up we go. That's just really embarrassing. Right. You notice the torque from this engine if you look at the ball. You see, I'm stomping on the right rudder like crazy here. Alright. Turn crosswind, count to 10, and then turn downwind. There we go. Try not to let the nose come up like that, like a frickin' amateur. Alright, there we go. There we go. And let's try not to screw it up this time. Gear it down, notch your flaps. Don't say that to me. Come on. There you go. Alright, I can't see the 45 because I don't have that view really available. So we'll count to 10 again. And then we'll turn final. A little low again. Let's hold altitude here. Get a little juice in. There we go. Roll out on the base. There we are. There's our runway, nice and tight. Let's see if we can make a nice, neat turn to final maybe this time. A little lag. Okay, there we are. And here we go. Shit, can't see where I'm going. Ah, there we are. Okay, red over white, we're good. There we are. Let's get stable. Fix that, slow down. Shallow out our, there we are. Alright, now, let's see if perhaps we can do this right. I'm going to start looking my head down the runway a bit. Want to get the yips. Flared late. Yeah, watch. On the replay you'll see we flared late. Alright, get our condition levers in. Stay in beta. Let's just get off the runway. And there's a nice little lag. That's loading all those buildings over there. It shouldn't be doing that, but it is. There we go. Okay, so let's just see what that looked like. What it was is a late flare didn't arrest the sink, but here, let's show you. It's bad timing. Tell you, when you're better on the grass fields than you are on, look at that, look at those reflections. Okay, so now what you're going to see basically is a late round out. So we're going to wait too long, and we're going to be still sinking too much, too fast. See, down, 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 down. Oh, not enough. It wasn't horrible, but it was suboptimal. Here, let's set that up better. Now, luckily, this airplane's got trailing arm main gear, so it can basically soak up almost anything and make even the worst technique seem pretty smooth. Unlike, say, a Mooney, which has basically got the main gear connected directly to your sphincter. There we are, and just there we are. All right, so that was it was a naval landing. There was not a lot of flare right there. Just held that attitude the entire way down. Somebody on another video said, "Boy, you suck at landing," and that maybe it was unnecessarily mean, but it wasn't entirely far from the truth. It is hard to do on a desktop. It's easier to do in a plane because, look at that lag. Because what you've got is, for all the travel you've got here, you've got twice or three times as much travel in a real plane, and you don't have the sort of notchiness from having a bungee cord connected to it, like in a Cytec yoke, or in this case a motor that kind of has a little bit of notchy cogginess in it and little dead spots, it seems. So, but other people in fake planes do a lot better than I do, so they know what they're doing. So I basically held that pitch attitude, and then boom, we hit. Let's just let's see what our vertical speed rate was when we landed here. So there we're at 500 feet per minute. That's fine. That's where we should be. Now we're at about 200 feet per minute, and it's not going to get much better from there. See? With the length of runway we had, I could have kept just a little bit more power in, or I could have flared just a little bit more. But there you have it. And there you have it. It's pretty slick. It's a beautiful airport. Although these bits of scenery keep popping in and out, and I guess that's a problem. But, you know, it's a pretty nice trade-off. It's really a beautiful piece of real estate. So with that and these beautiful evergreens in the background, appropriately so, and for some inexplicable reason, a few cords of hardwood there, firewood ready to go, bid you adieu, and I'll keep working on my technique, and one day my landings won't suck, and I hope in the meantime you learn a little bit from it, and see you next time. Bye-bye.